their offices were in San Jose,
Okay.
and Larry Gonzalez was the associate publisher and the photographer. And so they were covering a lot of weekend shows, but they had the glossy cover already. And on the west side, the only place I could get it was Jan's Liquor on Pico near West LA.
Okay.
And then um, so I was with them on and off for maybe 8 years.
Oh wow. That,
Yeah, and then they would. I mean, I had a really good reputation with them and a good working relationship
yeah.
with them, where they never turned any of my stories down. Like, I would come with an idea, and it had nothing to do with lowriding, but it definitely had to do with Chicano culture. And they'd say, yeah, and then they sold it. At that time, it was ATM Productions, and that was before ATMs came up all over. And I asked them, what's ATM Productions? It was a Todo Madre Productions. And it was Sonny and Larry. They were the publishers. Sonny lived in Venice for a while, but I never met him. And then what happened was they sold it. And so there was going to be the first Chicano solo artist featured at the LA County Museum of Art, and his name's Gronk. And he was from East LA. And it was the very first time that they were going to have a solo show. They had group shows before of Chicano artists, but never a solo. And so I called up, the magazine, and they had already switched hands. And I was pitching the story to them. It's like, this fantastic artist, and the guy who was talking to me was like a Galacho, and he goes, "We're a car magazine, lady." And I went, "Oh, you are. You are now.
Yeah.
You are now." But I mean, I'd interviewed Edward James Olmos when he had the ballad of Gregorio Cortez, and that appeared in the newspaper. I mean, in Lowrider. Just Los Lobos,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Do you have
know.
an archive of all those old articles?
I do. Brooke
Yeah.
has them in her
Oh,
garage.
okay. Would be love. It would be great to get hold of those, maybe publish them if you're open to that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, I'm sorry that they don't exist in Eline archives.
Yeah.
What was it seem like as far as like being a woman? Was there any other females writing for Lowrider, or was it was it strange, or was it just natural? Did you fall into it naturally?
I fell into it naturally because I mean their offices were in San Jose. So I never went into an office. I mean, I dealt with Larry over the phone, and then I told him, okay, the article's done, and I'd mail it in, and
So I never
then it
gave a
got
shit about it.
published. So I never had to, and then I didn't go to any of the car shows that Larry would be at. I mean, I went to cover stuff. If there was a band that was playing or something that I wanted to cover, then I'd go. But yeah, no, I'll tell you what was weird was not just with Lowrider, but um, being a professional in the 80s is having to make a boyfriends, um, having to switch a ring over to this side. So, because I used to sell advertising for newspapers, and sometimes it would get a little scary being in somebody's office by themselves, and knowing that you've got a job to keep, but so yeah, just I have this habit of like, okay, if I go in, how do I get out,
Yeah.
kind of thing,
Oh, wow.
and you know mentioning, oh, my husband is at home,
Yeah.
sort of things like that,
Yeah.
when I was single,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was the scary part.
Um, like growing up, and I guess on a journey to like your creative journey, like what were some of the things that had the most positive influence on you, whether it's people or literature or things like that?
It would have to be other writers,
Yeah.
other books that I've read. There's I got an assignment from the LA Weekly. This was in the 80s also, um, to write an article about Latina writers. And they delivered a box full of, of books, novels, poetry, you know. And so I had a month to do it. And so I had to read all this literature that would have taken me years, right? And some of the lines still stay for me. And like Sandra Cisneros, The House on Mango Street, there's a woman who's describing her child speaking English, and she calls it the language that sounds like tin,
Uh,
you know? And then there's, oh man, there's this a short story that was written by Elena Maria Viramontes. She wrote the Moth and Other Stories. She teaches at Cornell now. Elena is the most gracious, kindest, generous writer that I've ever met. And so I asked her for, she, I had the Moth and Other Stories, and I reached out to her, and she said, I want to send you some other stories that haven't been published, but because we wanted to publish a story.
right.
And the one that she sent was, and I haven't seen these in any of these characters in any of her other writings. It was Cholo and his little sister, and their mother is a Chola veterana, and his tia is also a veterana. And the stories of this family going through stuff, and the tia is on vacation. She's got a factory job and she's on vacation. And so the nephew Cholo goes to visit her, and they're smoking cigarettes, and tia's already having a beer, and it's morning. And he's telling her, no, tia, you should go on a cruise or something. And tia's heartbroken because her husband has died. And the story is called Dance Me Forever. And she tells the young man, can you play the song again, mijo? And he's dancing with his tia, and his tia says he told me that he would dance me forever. And oh, that story.
Yeah.
So when I got married again and lost my husband, I kept referring back to that story,
Yeah.
and the other writers, the way that, thank God, that we're being published now, that our work is being, you know, there's a lot to be done, but it's here, and the road is being paved so that we could see ourselves.
Yeah, to tell us a little about that too, as far as like some of like what you feel have been some of the challenges or the marginalization of some of our literature and where it's at now, maybe where you'd like to see it go or you see it going.
Um, One, I think it's uh, the where I'd like to see it going is that it is American literature. To be Chicano, to be Chicana is an American experience. And I am adamant about that. And in terms of, if you want to publish Latin American artists, writers from other countries, there's enough. I mean, there's enough room. There's more.
Yeah.
We need more. But don't pigeonhole us.
Yeah.
Don't have us at a bookstore with Latino literature. We're Americans. And just recently, I was telling a friend that I think that, I'm going to start using this term of Euro Americans. Because when our own community talks about white people, they call them Los Americanos, the Americans. No, we're Americans, and so this is our history here, and the more, the better, and what's so freaking confusing, man?
Yeah.
What,
Because you do feel there's been a marginalization. Because in recent years too, I've always kind of seen it, but even more so now, I just seen a lot of things that just really make me feel that there is some type of concerted effort to really kind of marginalize the Mexican Chicano narratives and history, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. Now it's kind of just it seems like it's this normal thing to do in American
yeah,
culture, or
because we're still seen as the other.
yeah,
It's time to claim our history here, and in terms of the book bannings that went on in Arizona, a few years back, and the history that Texas wants to tell to our students about our who we are, without any Mexican American scholars, on board. Um, how are we still doing this? I mean, it just amazes me, and it pisses me off, and so I guess because I get pissed off, I ain't done yet, so
Same here,
yeah, so I
Same
think
here too.
another milestone was having some of my poetry published in an anthology that's pretty well recognized, and by a and then just recently having my full length play produced at Casa 0101.
Yeah.
And and I've published poetry, I've published journalism, and just 10 years ago I started in playwriting. But even with playwriting, it was something that I wanted to do, but I didn't know how. And so
How did that transition happen from your writing to, you still write, but
yeah, well, I started going, I found out that Casa 0101 had writing classes for playwriting, and everything's a format. It's an expression, but it's up to you to use what format you're going to be interested in using. And so I feel very, very fortunate that um I mean, a while back I questioned myself if I was, jack of all trades and master of none. And I thought maybe I get bored easily. And I think that I do each one well, and well enough to be published, well enough to be produced. And so I feel very fortunate that I have various ways of making it happen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And do you see as far as just from your awareness of the general Chicano scene in LA, do you see a lot more people coming up and doing quality writings or stuff like that? And if so, who are some of the areas or writers you have your eyes on right now that are interesting to you?
Um, in terms of poets, and I'm not just saying this because she's my comadre. I mean, not real comadre, but homie. Angelina Sainz, a poet, remarkable, remarkable.
Based in LA?
Based here in LA. And when we see each other, we don't have to have words. We just see each other and we know each other, and we just start crying because she grew up with an alcoholic mom. Sometimes she and her brothers were homeless. Grew up in East Hollywood when it was really trashy in the 80s, like off Santa Monica Boulevard and Western. Survived all of that, is now pursuing her PhD in education, raised two amazing young men, and just, she writes about her struggles in the most beautiful ways, where it really it hits you. It's like a gut punch, but one that you knew you had to read it, and you're grateful because you know that she has survived. She's still standing. you know.
Yeah.
And so Angelina signs, there's so many, so many,
Right.
you know. Luis Alfaro and Josefina Lopez, um, you know, playwrights, um, you know, but yeah, there's just lots and lots of us, but um, more to come.
Yeah.
More to come. And I like to encourage people who, you know what, it doesn't matter. Look, my formal education ended in the 8th grade. You know, write, read.
Yeah.
If there's workshops being offered, take them.
Yeah.
You know, find your community. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. Because
I was, I was, I was gonna ask you, like, do you think you said your family had been in Texas for generations?
mm-hmm.
Do you think that played like a part of your confidence of like, hey, I am an American? Because
Yes.
I see so many, like for example, first generation or maybe they got here young that have talents like you do, but never had the confidence to like, they'll find out in when they're in their older age, just like fuck, I had a talent for this. I didn't know I could do anything with it.
Right.
But so it's like our raza that are here recently don't have that same confidence to be like, yeah, I have talents. I could do something with
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's because my family has been here for such a long time that my family is truly one of those that we did not cross the border crossed us,
right.
you know? And so because of places like Casa 0101, the Frida Kahlo Theater, Casa 0101 especially in Boyle Heights, Josefina Lopez founded it uh, to ensure that our community had a place to go to get acting lessons, to get the playwriting lessons, to produce the work that we write. And so I just wish that there were more and more places like that. And I'm here to just hopefully reach out and tell people, if you have a talent, we need it.
Yeah.
We need it.
Definitely.
You know, and it could be writing, it could be painting, music.
What do you think are some like just like throwing ideas out there, like are some things, mechanisms or spaces that we can use to make that happen? What type of spaces?
Sometimes it just takes two people knowing each other. Really, I mean, you know, like I went to Beyond Baroque
Mhm.
because they had writing, you know, like a writing class there.
Right.
So on the west side, that was okay for me, you know, and I think it was free,
Right.
you know. But now with the internet, start looking for writing workshops,
Yeah.
and then find one where you feel accepted, where you feel heard. If it doesn't feel right, don't stay,
Yeah.
but don't blame it on your you don't blame it on the fact that you think that you may not have the gift.
Mhm.
It may just not be the space for you.
Right.
And sometimes it takes a long time,
Yeah.
you know, to find that space. But, you know, do it afraid,
Yeah.
you know, because
Exactly.
everybody's got a story and we should tell ours.
Exactly, and that's a lot of the motivation behind this project too. Is that, like, we saw a lot of the marginalization going on, neglect of, it's Chicanos in particular, but other, different little subcultures of the West Side, and it's funny because most of the people that we've interviewed so far, they've all kind of thought, hey, like, well, I'm not worthy of being interviewed, or I'm no one special, but like, obviously we disagree with that because every story adds up and adds a piece to the story, and collectively with those stories we can put more things together and build a deeper history.
Right. Well, you know, one of the things that interests me, and I try to mention it in my last play, but it kind of just like was a passing thing, is that I've interviewed like older West Siders, you know, women, and it's like maybe they were cousins, and then they said, well, you know, I grew up like on Washington and Lincoln, but then my cousins moved, they bought a house in Culver City, and then my other cousin bought a house in West LA. Now, how many generations of cousins continue knowing each other?
Yeah.
It's usually the first, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, those set of cousins go off and make their own branches.
Right.
And so I'm wondering how many of us on the West Side may be related to each other and not know it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too.
right?
Yeah, because we've already done like 4 interviews, and I think like, almost all of them, once we got done, like they're all related to someone either through marriage or so and so's cousin or so and so married, whatever. But so far, they've all been related, like 1 degree of separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it was, I was living in Venice. The last time that I was living there was right before the year 2000. I moved out 2001, I think. And I was working on my garden and had gone to, we used to call it the Judío store, which was on California at the end of Oakwood. Or no, is it? No, California and Abercrombie.
Yeah.
The grocery store that was there.
Yeah.
The reason why we called it the Judío store was two Jewish brothers ran it who actually had numbers tattooed from Holocaust survivors, right? And so there used to be a meat market in there. It was like a little grocery store. But there, so it's about the year 2000 or near there. And I was working on my garden and I decided to go get some beer. I was about to wrap it up. And ahí estoy toda mugrosa, right? And I'm at the corner and I'm looking, and like I hadn't seen Abercrombie full blown on a Saturday afternoon with the sun out in a long time, right? Because I worked and I didn't want to deal with the traffic and stuff. And I'm pressing the button, and I looked around me and I thought, oh man, this has changed.
Yeah.
And I said, I need to write about this, you know, because it was like, you know, I'll be honest, it was God that told me, you need to tell the stories. Because if you don't tell the stories, you know, nobody's going to know that you guys were here.
Exactly.
You know, because I imagined what it used to look like with the little thrift stores, the rooster, you know, the shoe shop place, Charles, you know, who used to take all the photographs, and you know, and I was like, at that point, I felt a sense of responsibility. Well, when I go to the east side, you know, it's like I tell them I grew up in Venice, and they're like, there's Chicanos in Venice, and it's like there's a whole bunch of us. Watch. You know, so the play that I just had produced there takes place in Santa Monica. There's going to be another one that takes place in Venice. That one's already written. And, you know, so I'm glad that you're doing the work that you're doing because it's important, you know, and, you know, so yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. What are some beliefs that you had as a young person, whether about yourself or about your people and culture, that you eventually that you no longer hold?
I think one, it's kind of funny, but not, that I had to, you know, when somebody's trying to make you a Christian, but you're not, convert. Yeah, I thought I had to convert all the Republicans. Right? It's like, um, the beliefs, I think, one that's very personal and glad that I discovered it was that not everything belongs to me. You know, good or bad. You know, mostly bad. Other people's decisions or what have you, they own them. And being the oldest of 4 kids, I think gives you, and then back then having adult responsibilities as a kid, I think you know, I'm not the only one, but feeling an immense amount of responsibility for others, you know, and making sure that they're happy, that they're fine, that, you know, and I don't believe that anymore. Everybody's responsible. Be good, you know, be kind. But if somebody's having a bad day, leave them alone. You know, and you don't have to take them out for ice cream. You know, and take care of myself. You know, and uh, another thing is doing nothing feels really odd. You know, like just being able to sit down and read out here and be quiet feels good, because before it used to feel guilty. like I need to be doing something. I need to be doing something.
Yeah.
Working,
Yeah.
right? ¿Qué
Yeah.
andas haciendo floja?
Yeah. That's exactly. I know.
Levántate,
Yeah. I
right?
say, yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you something to do. Like the martyrism that comes with like having to work. Yeah, but and yeah, I'm those are old beliefs that I've let go of.
No, I
No,
can't.
yeah,
Honestly.
no, you need to recharge and take care of yourself and uh treat yourself well in order, like I think it was Oprah finally said, it's like doing nothing is doing something because you're recharging to
Yeah.
continue it on. And I think one of the other beliefs that I've walked away with too is that not everybody's going to feel the same level of responsibility that you do in terms of activism or how I feel about my community, and that's okay. It's like cada quien, and but they still, they're it's good. It takes all of us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the ones who do feel it, we're paving the way for others. Know that there's, we're here because of decisions and choices made by 7 generations before us.
Right.
And what we're doing is going to affect 7 generations behind us. So just know that even though you can't see it sometimes, that it's real and it does have an effect. And it'll come back and you'll be a witness to it in the most surprising way,
Yeah. It's
and
great to hear. Thank you.
yeah, no,
It's reassuring, like, because it's something like that. Like, we're in the mix, and so it's not like a big scene, at least that we're not aware of. You know what I mean? It's like you don't always hear these, things I think we know deep down, but it's nice to hear them like on the material
yeah,
as well.
yeah, absolutely. We have to keep ourselves going,
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for the work that you're doing. It's important work. And what you're going to see, because I've lived long enough where, it's like I went to this poetry reading and so were there, and somebody was taking photographs. And now, 40 years later, those photographs are at the Smithsonian.
Oh, wow.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, so we're treading,
Yeah.
and so it's important, but because it's in the present, it doesn't feel as important, maybe. But once you guys are doing really exceptional work,
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
so thank you.
What are some of your hopes and visions for, I guess, future generations, like your family or the community or people that you know, or society or whatever?
Yeah, um I would say, because I was thinking about this, is that you know I think education, that you know people be educated and that education be available to all of us at all of our points in our lives. I grew up without a formal one, and I was very, very, very fortunate that I was able to get jobs that now require a college, degrees. And back then it was a little bit more like, shaking hands, who whatever, right? And but um, I think in order to level out the playing field in our community, especially, is that we be given quality education and that our voices be heard via books, via films, via plays, via photographs, via art, that it holds a lot of value, that we be seen, that we be heard. And, you know, I'm all for, community college being, free. And, not everyone is going to be destined to be an architect or a painter or something. If you want to go and be a mechanic or an electrician, a trade, choose a trade, damn, those are valued too. Just because you work with your hands does not mean that you're less valuable. Tell that to the business person who, is stranded on the freeway. Tow truck's coming to save his ass, right? I bet you he values that.
Yeah,
So we need to be everywhere.
I mean, especially as long as we keep community, right? Because that
Yes.
mechanic can be fixing the lowriders, and
Yes.
you know what I mean. As long as there's community, that's fulfilling. If there's community, if
Yeah.
there's no community, then it's not fulfilling, right?
No.
Yeah.
No. And in terms of like gentrification, it's like the nice things that come with it are, nice coffee,
yeah,
nicer pastries.
yeah,
But I just wish that there was a way to, because gentrification brings nice things, right? Because now you have a higher paying market.
yeah.
And, now law enforcement is going to stop, beating people up, you know. And that was one thing that I witnessed in Venice was the cops beating up Chicanos. And I trusted the bikers more than I did the cops.
Yeah.
I'd never run to a cop
Oh, yeah.
and say, help me. I'd go to a biker. But so the good things that come with gentrification, the gentry,
Yeah.
the polite little things, and I just wish that there was a way to make sure that people didn't get chased out, bullied out, um, didn't get bought out,
Right.
that there was a balance, because all of us want nice things. We do, but, it was like that, it's like, so I just wish that there was a balance that, that there's enough for everybody.
Yeah. That kind of goes to with another question I had too. Is like if you had a magic wand, what are some things you would change about, I guess, Venice or I guess the West Side and
If I had a magic wand, that there would be more affordable housing, that everyone be housed and everyone be fed.
yeah. What do you feel are some of like your most notable accomplishments throughout your life, and how would you like to be remembered?
Notable accomplishments, I believe, is my family, my children, who I love so deeply, and my grandchildren, who like their grandma, love their grandma, reach out to their grandma. That to me is like wonderful when I hear from my grandchildren and the adult grandchildren, and they say, "Hey, grandma, how are you?" And that is such a blessing. Um, the relationship that I have with my son and daughter is priceless. You know, um, Growing up, I always insisted that they be honest with me, and I was honest with them. And it's something that we continue to base our relationship on, and love and respect. Um, and the fact that, I mean, I'm going to be 65, and I feel like I've lived like 4 different lifetimes. The fact that I was able to publish work, find my community of artists, find other women who I respect and admire, and they feel the same. Um, it's just, you know, it is such a blessing. And then also, too, is to not worry, just to know that everything's covered.
Yeah.
And the ability to know that you have enough.
Yeah.
¿Qué más quiero?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good.
No, you sound very enlightened too. Like I said, it's been a while since I actually sat down and talked with you, or especially now that I always know you as like my tia down the street and all that, and so it's been really great to kind of just catch up in this way because I feel like a lot of things you do and Sarah, like I'm totally just like I'm right there. I totally understand what you're talking about and feeling very similar things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what's some of the best wisdom and advice you would have for people watching this?
Love yourself. Love yourself and accept yourself exactly where you are. Know that, You know, it's never too late to, uh, you know, change your mind, and change your mind if you want to change your mind, and you know, be kind to those around you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm writing the Little Venice stories right now,
Nice.
little memories. Now, Paulina just screened her movie about the Santa Monica Latino community. She interviews a lot of people and does this whole history of how people from Valle Guadalupe came to Santa Monica and how that migration happened. And so, yeah, I worked with quite a few people in Santa Monica who were from El Valle de Guadalupe, is where they were from. So, yeah.
So again, thank you, Lindsey Haley.
Thank you.
Appreciate you doing so much.
Thank you. Thank you. You guys are doing fantastic work.